As some of you guys may know, this car here had actually sat in the shop for almost 3 years. This car here was actually built to run in 2019. I built it, sorry, 2020. Like when COVID first started, I built it, but then all the rules changed where you couldn't cut the frame shorter. Because this car has been cut 1.5 inches shorter, I couldn't really do anything with it. I couldn't run at any of the shows because our rules stated that you couldn't cut the frames at all, not even just to mount the bumper. So because of that, it couldn't be ran. It was able though to run one promoter, and that one promoter finally had a show in my area, which was Ontario Demolition Derby. This could not run Edge because of this, and then it could not run Impact because of this, but it could run Ontario, and they finally had a show in my area, which allowed the extra body mount down to the sub, but this had to get cut at some of the shows, and then it had the square tubing behind the struts, which again was allowed at Ontario, but had to be removed for other shows. But unfortunately, this car did us half decent. It didn't really run right the entire time, but being as tough as it was, it kind of dealt out quite a bit of blows. So what we're going to do is we're going to start tearing this car apart, and then we're going to cut the frame open, because I've had quite a bit of comments and people messaging me telling me that I cheated on this car, and I really didn't. So I got nothing to hide, so I'm going to cut the frame open probably at the end of the teardown on this. What we're going to save is the subframe, because it still looks straight. We're going to save the suspension, tie rods, steering, axles, all that fun stuff. We're going to save the motor. The timing belt went on the motor. We're going to put a new timing belt into it and save the motor. Going to save the window bar, going to save the cage. We're probably going to save my gas tank bracket unless it's that hard to get out because of how bad the back of it's in it. Going to save the gear selector, the seat, this gas tank, the fuel lines, the battery box, toggle switches, which I don't even think there's any toggle switches left in it. But yeah, there's quite a bit of stuff that we are going to save out of this car. But the only downside is I have to keep it light enough that I can lift it with the Walden, because with the back end as bad as it is, because unfortunately the back end really doesn't roll anymore. Yeah, the back end doesn't really work like a back end anymore, as you guys can tell by the giant dragging marks across the ground, that it doesn't really roll. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this thing apart and then try to get it onto the trailer. It might not all be in one video, but we'll see. I'd like to cut the frame open to show you guys that I ain't doing nothing to these cars. Just some Camrys are built different. But this side here does have one repair plate on it. On the inside, can you guys see that there? It does have one repair plate on the frame. It's kinked quite hard. But I have no problem cutting these open to show you guys that there's nothing in them. But let's start tearing her down. So we got this car torn apart yesterday. We got the subframe out of it, put it inside the shop. We got the motor, transmission, everything out of it. We got the window bar out, cage out, gas tank, battery, cables, all that fun stuff. And it's pretty much ready for scrap now. But I did promise you guys that I was going to cut the frame rail open on this. One, it makes it a lot easier for me to load because I can get the loader in closer. And two, I want to prove to you guys that I ain't doing nothing fishy, because I've had a lot of comments about this car. Why didn't it bend? So I'm going to take a Sawzall and I'll probably cut it right here. And then I'll probably go right in front of this plate. Just cut it here on that side, cut out the rad support, and then I can get my loader in closer and get it on my trailer a little bit easier. So let's start cutting. So I want to do that all unedited so that you guys can see. That's just the back of the Mazda 3 bumper. There's my finger. Same as that side. There's the back of the Mazda 3 bumper. There's my finger. And then we can look down the frame rails on this. Yeah, there's nothing inside those guys. Get a lot of comments about how I cheat pretty much everything. But unfortunately, I don't. I really don't. Camrys are just that tough. This car here, the front of the frame was still straight as an arrow on this. But the back end was garbage. So, I don't cheat. They're just that tough. They make, you know, they make me look good even though the cars, I'm not really that good. The cars just make me look that good. So we're going to get this thing loaded up on the trailer and take her off to scrap.